I'm going to take the liberty of reading you something I wrote this morning on the way here. Because there has been a lot of talk about this movement being anti-farmer and anti-farming, and this is my official response to that. Some people claim that our movement, the initiative to protect our kuleana from the unchecked hazards of agrochemical industry, is somehow anti-farming or anti-farmer. Nothing could be further from the truth. 121 years ago, Princess Bernice Pałahi Bishop entrusted her massive land holdings to a group of foreign businessmen who, rather than utilize such wealth to empower the native peoples, worked to create an export ag economy controlled by a few industrialists and based on monocrops with intensive chemical inputs. They imported legions of low-income workers from abroad and invited a century of toxic land management practices while systematically diminishing Hawaii's centuries-old ability to fully feed its people. That is anti-farmer. That is anti-farming. 60 years ago, when the U.S. federal government conducted client studies as to how to diminish the farmer workforce and establish propaganda campaigns to influence farmers to leave their plots of land and relocate to cities, knowing such shifts would incite a scarcity food economy, thereby driving up food prices while establishing a limited number of agricultural monopolies in the form of larger corporations. These subversive actions, funded by taxpayers, are little known to the American public and served as predecessor to the current corporate-controlled sick and unsustainable food production and distribution systems. That was anti-farmer. 40 years ago, as the Vietnam War came to a close and the war chemical companies decided to rebrand themselves as life sciences companies and enter the food markets, seeking new and ever-expanding venues for their deadly wares. That was anti-farming. When their corporate attorneys, moonlighting as political appointments to key positions in the USDA and FDA, tasked with the important role of drafting safety standards for this new biotechnology, manipulated language to forego establishing necessary regulatory principles in lieu of carte blanche free market access to the makers of these never-before-seen and not fully understood products, and how they rigged the patent system into allowing them to trademark nature itself, thereby allowing them the legal power to sue farmers who, through the natural occurrence of pollen drift, came to have their own plots of land infected with the patented DNA. That is anti-farmer. How the U.S. federal government subsidizes commodity crops like corn, which is largely grown for ethanol to be used in the manufacturing of biofuels, a wholly unsustainable method of fuel creation, which causes more environmental destruction than mitigates climate change, and also for livestock feed, which is not a natural food for cattle and causes gastrointestinal diseases in cattle populations, or cotton, which creates artificially low prices that, when brought to market, adversely affect the poor rural Indian farmers, and, as we have tragically witnessed, has resulted in more than 250,000 farmer suicides in India. That is anti-farmer. When we complain about organic food being high-priced, not realizing that we've already paid for much of the cheap toxic corn, soy, and cotton via federal subsidies, which further work to undermine the organic farmer's ability to compete. That is anti-farmer. If we define farming as the process of making money by growing crops to sell, irregardless of the effects such farming practices have on the land, then yes, we are anti-farmer. This is exactly as Governor Abercrombie recently defined farming on video on the internet, speaking before CETA. Making money growing crops. There was more, and I'll let you discover that on your own. But I see farming as more than just making money. Yes, for career farmers, it must be profitable, but not at the cost of the destruction of natural resources. Farming in the ancient Hawaiian way was carried out with a keen sensitivity to the limited availability of fresh water. Placement of crops and timings of plantings and harvests were decided according to a comprehensive understanding and recognition of the greater environment and the local community needs of people who lived in the vicinities. Today, the chemical companies follow a singular guideline: efficiency to maximize profit regardless of adverse environmental effect. And so, we are gathered here tonight, not only to put an end to this corruption of the role of the mahi'ai, the farmer, but also to remind the world what it means to be a farmer. That with farming comes a kuleana, the right to extract value from the land, as well as the responsibility to malama that land, to care for it so that it may provide life for generations to come. Ua maong ke ea o ka aina i ka pono. Life is perpetuated through a balanced relationship with the land. Aloha aina.